What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect Podcast. Oh, as you see, we have a furry guest today. There might be a deer popping in the background. There may be a cat joining us. We don't know. That is the wonderfulness of being... Don't be rude. See, look at her. She's already stealing my spotlight. But as you can see, I am surrounded by beautiful outdoors, and I love it. If you know me, you know I thrive. Oh, she's so cute. I hope you can see her by my feet. Molly, do you want a chair? You want to sit in the chair? See if she actually joins me. If she doesn't, well, c'est la vie. If you know me, I'm going to try really hard not to have my bra out in this episode. It pissed me off so much in my last solo episode I did. Just my bra strap hanging out the whole time drove me insane. But at the end of the day, doesn't matter? No. But if you know me, you know I love to be outdoors. Summertime is where I thrive, where I'm my best self. Oh, why don't you turn around and not show your butthole to the camera? I thrive outdoors. This is my prime time. As people say, on TikTok, like, we are entering our prime time. See? And I agree. Like, my overall mental health is just better in the summer because sun does so much. Molly. The sun is so good for your mental health. At least for me. I know everybody has their own vibes, and I totally love that for them. But for me, I thrive outdoors, right? I'm about to get sweaty in this episode too. I did not think this through. Oh well, sweat is just natural glitter, okay? The second it starts to get warm consistently, I am outside. I go on walks daily. I'm working out in my parents' backyard daily. I'm doing my Pilates in the sun like the beautiful sun child that I am. And I can promise you my mental health has never been stronger. No more after this, okay? She's so cute, I can't say no. That's my little bestie right now. I think Zoo's getting jealous, but... So I wanted to be outdoor for one reason, because I just love it. And it's like a new environment for me to record in. I don't think I've ever recorded outside. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I have recorded in a restaurant, in an Uber, which was so random. I can't believe that was a funny episode. I've recorded in basements. I've recorded in many different places, but never outdoors. So this is the first of many, and hopefully, like, the sound of nature is more ASMR vibey instead of like annoying, like. It's not a very windy day, so I feel like we're okay. Molly. Today, because it is May. If you listen, you know that I prioritize mental health. I'm a big advocate of taking care of your mental health, because if you don't, the rest of your life is going to crumble. Like, you need to take care of your brain just like you take care of your body. That is all part of your body, but for some reason, some people think like being mentally tough and just not worrying about their problems and pushing it down and being strong and not crying or not getting help or seeking therapy in whatever form works for you makes you stronger. And to some, maybe it works, and I'm not here to judge that, but I've always been an advocate for taking care of your mental health just as much as you take care of, like, your physical health. And if you don't, like, what's the point, one of the other, it's all in one. So if you didn't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I love that, and I want to be a part of spreading some awareness in that. And sorry for that interruption. There's probably going to be plenty more of that. And I wanted to not only like spread awareness by sharing my journey with mental health from like a very young age to where I'm at now. I think people would be maybe surprised to hear my full journey with it. And I didn't even realize my full journey until recent years, and like unpacking some of the stuff that, you do as you go through life. And as a kid, I think if you've met me in my later years and you only know me as the current version of Liana Monique Hauser, you would be very surprised to hear that I have not always been this version of myself. Like, I have, but I was not always showing it so freely. I was a very anxious child, and I've learned to work through things. And so I'm going to share my journey. So I'm going to share with you my childhood anxiety, where that kind of started, how I dealt with that through like my adolescent years and through my early 20s, when I started to realize I was burning myself out and I didn't even know I had a word for that. And so like kind of how I came full circle with myself. Now as I'm approaching 30, I feel like I really know myself. Each year you know yourself more, and that's never going to stop. And I love that. Like I love learning more about myself and what I need to make myself feel best and whole. So with this episode, I invite you to maybe go outside if it's nice out wherever you are listening or watching this from. Go on a walk, do something that makes you feel good and makes you feel at peace. Or if it's just sitting on your couch too and watching this or listening to this, whatever is best for you, I invite you to do, of course. I'm not checking. I'm not going to ground you for it. If you don't, you're not punished. When I was younger, I remember just being a super anxious child, and everything that I share in this episode, it is just to give you like a broader picture of where I come from. And no means am I looking for sympathy or looking for pity. I appreciate the journey that I've been on, and it's made me who I am. So I would never change anything for the world, like absolutely nothing. But I do want to share some details so you understand my specific perspective, or you can kind of try to see a bigger picture of like what I'm talking about and what has kind of led me to where I am today. So for those of you who don't know, my parents had me at a very young age. My mom was 16. I shared that before. I literally can't even imagine having a child at 16. I can't imagine having a child now. So imagine the pressure you feel as a teenager to raise a child, right? Like insane. Add on the fact that my dad had just freshly moved to the United States from Liberia. He was like probably 2 years in the United States when I popped up. Hey! Shortly after I was born, my dad was injured and he was paralyzed. So add being a teenager, your partner who you're raising this child with is now injured and has to learn how to relive life in a new way while dealing with all the mental things of just being new to a country still. A lot of pressure fell on my mom, and they were just young. Like think of yourself in a young relationship, like when you're in high school, like you don't have any tools really at that point on how to communicate, how to have conflict management, like just any of those things, right? So my parents were never really together in my life, and that's okay. Like I've accepted that, and that's, it is what it is. But that dynamic, right, had an impact on how I was raised. I had to split my time between people, and people who have separated parents, you understand it. It's like, I'm not blaming my parents for any of it. I think it's better that they did not stay together. They were not meant to be together. They were meant to have me, and that was it. And that's okay. But having split parents, like that already puts you at a disadvantage at an early age. And I didn't understand it then. It's just, that was my reality, and that's all I ever known. But they were young, trying to figure out their lives and raise a child. And so there was just a lot of uncertainty sometimes. And I think subconsciously I felt that. Like my parents did everything to make me feel loved. They never made me feel abandoned or anything like that. However, like as a child, you subconsciously pick up on things. And I think that my anxiety probably started from there. Because I remember like having to go to different houses and switching up your routine as a child is really hard. And so at one house, I had one set of rules, right, with like my mom, and I always felt that was my main caregiver. So I always like had an anxious attachment to her. And then at my dad's house, I had a whole nother set of rules, and my dad's Liberian. So African parents are a little different if you don't know that. So I remember like when I was younger, when I was at my mom's, I was fully able to express myself however I wanted to. And I really appreciate my mom, and I champion her for having that for me. Like she never like pushed me to do anything. She was very supportive in really anything that I do, and still is. But like things like having nail polish or listening to KDWB and just pop music, like that type of thing, or rap or whatever, watching certain shows, like whatever I deemed as, we felt like it was normal. But when I'd go to my dad's house, I'd have to take off my nail polish. I could not have nail polish on. I could not listen to KDWB. Like that was a big no, like only Christian music. And then when like he would address me, like call my name, like say he was in the other room and he would call for me. If I said what, I would get in trouble. You can't say what. You have to say yes or answer in a different way, because in his mind, they see it as disrespect. Like I was being disrespectful by saying what. Mind you, I'm a kid. I don't understand that, right? Like as an adult, I still don't really understand it, but I understand that different cultures have different set of norms. And as a child, I was trying to like figure it out, right? It was very hard for me to understand that at this house, this is okay, but at this house, it's not okay. And I had to quickly learn as a child that I had to switch who I was depending on who I was with. That is no shame to my parents. It just is what it is at this point, right? Like we can't go back in time, but I hope that starts to paint the scene of where like my anxiety started to form. At that age, I had no idea what anxiety was, but I felt it in my body. I remember feeling like my stomach would be nervous as a child when I'd have to go certain places because I had to remember what are the rules when I go here. Or, oops, did I say the wrong thing over here? Or did I take off my nail polish over here? And it was a very complicated thing as a child. That being said, that's kind of where like my anxiety, I think, started. And then I get to school and like I really didn't have a huge problem at school. I remember being very anxious, like going to the bus stop and like being afraid I was going to get kidnapped for some reason. Like as a young kid, I heard a lot of horror stories, and like my grandparents, I'd spend a lot of time at my grandma's and she would watch a lot of like Judge Judy or like crime shows. And so I think I just like started to pick up on like scary cases of like kids getting kidnapped. And I just like was so like afraid of getting kidnapped when I was a kid. I don't know why. Like that was just like a huge fear of mine. So like I remember in like kindergarten through like second grade when I was going to school in New Hope Elementary, shout out New Hope, in the Crystal area, New Hope area, if anyone knows. So I started going to school there, and I remember going to the bus, and it was like right outside my house. Like we had these townhouses in the street right here. Like this is our townhouse. Street was right here. That was my bus stop. But I was terrified of like being out there alone or like someone driving by and picking me up and kidnapping me. And I remember my most anxiety was when I was coming home from school, and I had this really nice older neighbor who, her name was Brittany. If you somehow see this, I hope you are well. You were like literally such an angel to me at that age. I remember every time I would get off the bus, I would ask her, can you please wait till I get in the house? Because I was so afraid that the door would be locked and then I would be trapped outside and then I would get kidnapped. And every time she would go, she'd wait at her door and wait till I got in, and then I'd wave to her and then I'd go inside and I'd feel so much better, but I'd have so much anxiety building. Like if I knew my bus stop was coming up, I would be so anxious getting to it because I was just so scared. I don't know why. It was just like a weird anxiety, but that I remember those memories so clearly. And I just felt like I was always going to get left or abandoned for some reason or kidnapped. Like a white van was my biggest fear. Oh my God. I thought only white vans could kidnap kids. And I remember that was just like my biggest fear. And I don't know why. Literally, like I was never locked out. I don't think there was ever a time my mom was not on the other side of that door, like ever. But it was just a weird anxiety. And so things like that kind of like, I noticed that a lot as a kid. I just always had that fear. That was just one example, but it happened. It played out in other ways as well, right? And then as a kid, I moved around a bit. Like in second grade, I moved to Mound, Westonka, like Lake Minnetonka area. For those of you who know the area, I was there for like the remainder of my elementary through like a grade in middle school. And then I moved to St. Francis, and I was there from 6th grade to 9th grade. I finished my freshman year there, and then I moved to Maple Grove where I graduated. And all of those areas that I just named, if you're familiar with Minnesota cities, you know, pretty white. Pretty white. Are you okay? Look at, we have another co-host, Zuzu, back in the building, baby. Cutie. So I was often like one of the only black kids in my class. I was often the only black kid in my class, but often only one of few black kids in my grades, and then in school entirely, like very, very few of us, right? And when I first started my school journey, like I was at a very diverse school, like New Hope and Crystal area, very diverse. I grew up with tons of black people, Somali people, Mexican people, Asian kid. Like there was just such a diverse group. White people too. Like literally it was so diverse. So that was my first experience of school. So I never felt anything at a really early age. But then when I first moved, I went to school in Mount Westonka and Shirley Hills. I did notice how different I was. I was literally the only black kid. Like and maybe there was some in other classes, but I know in my class I was the only one that looked like me. I didn't really necessarily understand how I was different, but then there was one scenario when my best friend, like I made new friends and I was very scared to make new friends. Like it's not fun starting the school year midway through, having to make all new friends, having your life change, all your best friends no longer there. You don't get to see them anymore. You have to start over in a new school, new class, make new friends, new routine, all the things. It's very hard for a kid, at least especially for me. I did well. I always had an easy time making friends, but doesn't mean I didn't experience anxiety while doing that. And I remember I had a really, really close friend. Let's call her Tracy. We were so close. I remember going to her house one time. And like we would hang out at recess all the time. And then just one day she came up to me right before recess and she was like, I don't want to be your friend anymore because you're black. And I remember I had just never, ever had anyone say that to me at that point. I'd never even had anyone really point out my race. Like that wasn't really a concept in my mind. I was in 3rd grade. I was like, what? And I remember I didn't like cry. My heart felt like broken, but I didn't even know how to process that. Like, I've never even had somebody say they didn't want to be my friend anymore, let alone, I don't want to be your friend because you're black. And I remember I had no idea how to handle it. And then I went and told my teacher at the time, and she was so sweet about it. She was like, definitely like, she was taken aback. And I remember she's like, okay, go sit down. Like, I think she just like, we'll handle this. And like, she pulled Tracy aside. And then we had a teacher's meeting, and then our moms met, and her mom was like, I have no idea where she even heard this. I don't even know why she would say that. Well, I can promise you she didn't say it before, so something's not adding up. She had to learn that, and the call was coming from within, baby girl. Take some ownership. But obviously her mom's not going to say anything. And my mom's a G. She went head to head with that woman. I remember we had a field trip, and they were both chaperones on that trip, and my mom, she wasn't playing with her. Like, her mom tried to, like, suck up to us. Like, I'm so sorry, but my mom was like, no, you're not about to play with my baby. But that did start my anxiety around, like, fearing that people wouldn't want to be my friend because of what I looked like. And then fearing that their parents wouldn't approve of me. And I remember that, like, started this like, need as a protection to be like super happy, super nice, super bubbly, people pleasing, to make sure people liked me and they didn't just discard me because of what I looked like and what my race was. And I didn't understand that's what I was doing, but I did start to hear about like stereotypes of black people at that age. Like that's when that started to like really come into play. And I didn't necessarily know about these stereotypes because, again, my family is black. Half my family is black, yes, but my family's Africans and Black Americans. There's a lot of crossover, right? And there's things that are similar and that bond us all, but there's very stark differences as well between like African and Black American culture. So I wasn't really in the know of Black American culture just based on like the only things I really knew was like stuff I saw on TV or saw in magazines. Unfortunately, stereotypical things like, oh, you like chicken, fried chicken, or you like watermelon, or you like grape Kool-Aid. That is like the only connection I really had to Black America, because my Black America was African, and that was African culture, and it's very different. There's similarities, but it's different. And so I grew up having all these weird feelings in my head and not knowing where to like settle with it. I always knew like the stereotypes were wrong, and I remember never being like afraid or thinking bad about Black American culture. I am considered a Black American at this point. I'm also African, but like, I don't know, identity's interesting in that regard. But like, I just remember feeling like, oh, I have to do everything to not be the bad versions of the Black stereotypes. And like, I just remember being like, oh, I don't even like fried chicken. I really don't. I don't like picking it off the bone, but I like wings here and there. But like, I just felt like, oh no, I don't like that. Or, oh, I don't even like watermelon. That shit slaps now. The fuck? I don't even know why I said that. Like, I really thought, like, convinced myself I didn't like that. And it was just like anything I could do to just like not be different, I felt like I had to do to survive. And that continued. Like, I could really do a full episode just unpacking all of this stuff. And maybe I will, because this actually feels really good and therapeutic to just talk about. A lot of stuff is like rushing in right now. I'm like, I didn't even remember that. Or, I forgot about that. But basically, once I moved to Minnetonka and while I was in St. Francis, was like trying to just blend in, fit in, make friends, make people like me, make people know that I'm not the bad thug or gangster or ghetto or any negative stereotype that is associated with Black people that now I feel so terrible that I even thought that way, but I didn't know any different. That was my life. I was just trying to fit in. And so there's just like a lot of anxiety around identity and who I was and being one thing here and like making my parents proud, but they both wanted different things for me. It was just a lot as a kid. And every person has their own version of what I'm telling. This is just the way mine played out in the cards that I was dealt in that way. So from there, I just got really good at people pleasing. I got really good at trying to make people like me, doing the best. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be the best, because when I was the best at everything that I did, nobody said anything to me, right? Like, my dad wasn't mad at me or on my case. My mom was happy with me. Like, people in the community were saying good things about me. People liked me. Like, so if I was doing good and I was doing all these things and I was successful, I was the number one at everything that I did, then nobody had anything bad to say, right? So that became a huge part of my identity and a big pressure that I put on myself from a really young age. And that ultimately led to burnout, because that's just not sustainable. Like, you cannot do everything under the sun perfectly. It's just not possible. And I became a huge perfectionist when it came to how I looked, when it came to how I spoke, what I did, what I built. And I still to this day am working on it. I've gotten a lot better. And it's cool to like, right now I'm just like sitting back and like thinking how hard I used to be on myself and like all the stuff I used to put myself through. And it's like, that didn't even matter. But now I see all the growth in where I am today, and I'm excited. Perfectionism and all these things led to so many different things. Like, I've shared it before. I've had eating disorders, tons of anxiety, depression silent depression, overt depression. And the more life works itself out, I start to see things and I understand things, and I'm able to like support myself better because I understand what's going on now. I had no idea before. I thought it was just like a character deficit if I was anxious or if I didn't do something right, or if I was feeling sad that day. Oh, put a smile on your face. We don't got time for that. Like, now I just allow myself to just live. I'm a lot less hard on myself, but those things were real. And then add on being the oldest daughter. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I love being the oldest daughter. I love being an older sister. I love my role that I play in this family, but I didn't realize the impact and how serious I was taking it. Like, that again could be its own episode, and it may be soon. But those are a lot of the things that contributed to my mental health. And I remember I didn't get help for any of that. I was just silent about all of it. Like, I'm sure I would talk to like my mom here and there if I was struggling, but I kept a lot of that to myself. I had a lot of internalized anxiety. I didn't want to tell people about my problems because they didn't seem like real problems, you know? Yeah, I internalized it a lot until finally, like in college, towards the end of my college, I was going through a really bad breakup and I just felt so sad. I felt like my life that I had planned was like not happening and it just felt like the end of the world. I ended up getting therapy because I was like, I am just sad. Like, I'm depressed, dude. Like, I'm anxious. I can't stop thinking about things. Like, it just got to a point where I couldn't just handle it on my own anymore. So I got into therapy and then she's like, well, I guess we can kind of say you have anxiety. Like, what do you mean, I guess? Like, I remember she said, like, we're just going to say you have anxiety for insurance purposes so they pay for it. But like, also, I did have anxiety. Like, what do you mean? Like, looking back, I'm like, I just told you so much trauma and you said, we can say you have anxiety. Ma'am. Like, it was definitely anxiety. So that's where my therapy journey started. And if you've watched my other therapy episodes, like, I will tell you, I've been through many therapists. There's not one size fits all. There's going to be many people that just don't vibe with you or cannot offer you the support that you need. And I know that's hard because that puts the pressure back on you to find yet another therapist and stay consistent with it when you are already needing that help and support. So it's like almost feels like too late. I get it. But if you're hearing this and you're watching this, like, do not give up. Find the therapy that works for you. And not just the therapy, the therapist. Like, it all needs to be a good fit for you to actually benefit you. And I know that sucks because I hear so many times, like, people are like, they are craving and they need help so bad, and then they meet a therapist and it just doesn't work out, and then they just feel like giving up and like, what's the point? Because it already took them so long to take the step to get into therapy, and for it to not work out right away, that's disheartening. And I totally understand. I've been there. And then you think like it doesn't work for you. No, it's that person or that form of therapy doesn't work for you. There's so many different ways that you can help yourself get support that you need. You just have to find the right fit. And I know that's not the best answer because if you're like me, you want a quick fix, and that's not how it goes, you know? And there's a lot of actual good that comes with sticking with it and figuring out what works for you, because once you find it, I promise you life gets so much easier. So if you're listening to this and you're at that stage in the journey where you are very early on, there's so many flies. Ew. Oh, that's the part I hate about outside. If you're at that early part of your journey where you're just figuring out what is going to work for you, stick with it. I promise you it's going to pay off once you find that thing that works for you. And there's so many different forms of therapy. I'm going to start trying somatic therapy because one thing that I've found in my journey, because I internalized a lot of my anxiety, I am a very self-aware person. And I find that in talk therapy, and talk therapy is like the traditional therapy that you probably see like on TV or movies if you're not familiar. In talk therapy, I know what's bothering me. Like, I know how to talk through, I know what's going on in my brain. Like, I know how to pinpoint what's wrong. I can explain what's wrong, why it's wrong, what I need to do to fix it. Like, I can talk through all that part. So talk therapy for me has purpose in some times of my life when I just need to like verbally process, but I can also do that in other ways, and that's not necessarily the most helpful thing for me at this point in my journey anymore. It was a good starter point. Now it's more like somatic therapy. So if you've never heard of somatic therapy, it really focuses on your body because the body carries trauma. You know that feeling like when you get anxious and it's in your gut and it just stays there? If you don't do anything to release that, like, that just stays there, and it can cause illness and it can cause like disease. There's studies that have done that. You check it out yourself. I am not an expert, but so somatic therapy helps you like release that feeling from your body. And so that's something I'm going to try to get into. And I'll let you guys know how it goes. and I'll let you know if it works for me. But there's so many other forms of therapy too, like EDMR, I think it's called. And they put these like sensors on your head, and it like, they ask you questions or have you picture something, and it like sends like pulses to your nerves or your neurons or whatever. And it like helps you release those, like helps you make new pathways in your brain. So instead of like, if something triggers you, instead of it triggering you, they're helping you create a new pathway so that like that trigger no longer has that same effect. I could be totally wrong about that, but it sounded right. But I'm pretty sure it's like something along the lines of that. I've known people who have done that and they said it has helped. Everyone's going to have their own version of what works for you. And that's the joy of like freedom and free will, right? Finding what works for you. One thing that I have really noticed that has been key to my mental health and keeping me at a baseline, is working out, being in the sun, fueling my body, right? All things that like seem like no shit, but like I wasn't doing that, okay? Like I wasn't, and that's why my anxiety was bad. When your anxiety is not managed, it can lead to depression, and then depression got bad because then I'd be depressed about my state of life and how my body's looking and all these things, right? It all folds into each other. So things that I have found that help me is like, yes, working out daily, moving my body. And to me, at an early stage of life, I thought working out meant you had to burn 600 plus calories and that was a workout. And if you weren't soaking wet in your clothes after the workout, then it didn't count. And that's not reality. I don't even like those kind of workouts anymore. Like here and there, I'll crave one, but no, like working out can just be moving your body, going on a walk. Getting out daily and going on a 10-minute walk had literally changed my life. I cannot even explain it to you. When I was in St. Paul, I would go on a walk almost daily down by the river and just take in nature, like listen to music. Sometimes I wouldn't. Then I would just sit, like take in the environment. And doing that every single day, one, it created a routine for me where I was just moving my body, getting out of the house, doing something positive for my life. But then I just like, I started craving, like I needed it, and it just was so freeing. And there was just so many benefits to getting fresh air, some sunshine, moving your body. Like there's no negative thing to that, I don't think. And from that, I started like, okay, what other ways can I like make my body stronger or stretch it or nourish it without pushing it to the extremes? And that's how I really got into Pilates and yoga. And I've tried a little Tai Chi, and I actually like that. I probably will start doing that again. But moving my body in more intentional ways that didn't put stress on my body, I noticed even the most difference in like composition wise that I ever had. I was consistent with it. I wanted to do it each morning that I wake up, like doing things that you look forward to. Finding your version of a good routine that fulfills you is what's important. So I started to like really hone in on what worked for me, and ever since then it's just been like a domino effect. Like things just keep getting better and better. Oh, a cardinal. Side note, when I was younger, I would hang out with my grandma a lot, and she would garden a lot. We'd always be outside, and she would always say, this cardinal only comes around when you're here. And so that's kind of like my sign with my grandma, or like a butterfly. And there's a red cardinal, and I've seen it since I've moved here, and it's just, it's only one, and it will fly in. And so, hi grandma. Anyways, yeah, it's like a domino effect. You start to figure out the things that work for you. And like early on in episodes, when I was recording these, I would say I do those affirmations. I put affirmations around my house. And that was like at an early stage of like changing my mindset about how I speak to myself in my mental health journey. And that really helped. Like the way you speak to yourself matters. If you tell yourself you can't, then you're not going to do it. Like it's really that serious, and it's really that simple. If you tell yourself that you can, your brain is going to figure out a way to do it. Like legit. So I'm so big on self-talk. Do not talk ill about yourself. I used to call myself fat, or I'm like, ew, I have cellulite. Oh, I have hair, or my armpits are discolored, blah, 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 blah. Because I was comparing myself to other people. And then I just started to accept myself for like, I'm uniquely me. Ain't nobody like me, and nobody will ever be like me, and I started like carrying myself with that love, and it started to pour out of me. and better things started coming into my life. And now the way I talk to myself just naturally is good. There's days I have bad days and I look in the mirror and I, like, if it's around my period, I'm like, oh my God, I'm an ogre. Like Fiona is looking back at me. Like, there's days I have that. But right after that, I check myself and I switch my mindset around it. Like, I'm learning to clock it and change it. And the more you do that, the less you have to do that, because your mind just naturally starts to see good things in yourself. And that has been huge. And I really recommend, like, if you're at that early stages of your mental health journey or yourself, and you notice that your self-talk is really negative, I would recommend, like, starting there. Start writing nice things about yourself. Leave a note around on your mirror in the bathroom saying, I am beautiful, or I really like my eyes. I really like my smile. My nose is really cute. I love how my hair falls. Whatever is true to you and you can start at, make those true and honest, like, compliments to yourself. When you go to the fridge, write a sticky note. I love when I feel myself fuel my body with healthy food that make me feel good. That is a positive thing. You're allowed to eat, like, get in there and eat that good food. Fuel your body like you deserve it. When you're watching TV, I love when I allow myself to relax and watch a show because I deserve to sit down and relax. Like, things like that. Remind yourself because you deserve it. Start to change that self-talk, and you will notice within, like, give yourself 21 days. They say 21 days builds a habit. You will notice how things really start to change for you and how your mind really starts to open, and then you realize that, like, you are only holding yourself back. You can control so much in your life if you start to, like, just have a more positive, optimistic mindset. It's not easy, and I don't want you to think like, oh, in 21 days, I'm going to be the best version of myself. You're going to be a better version of yourself, and it's never going to end. You're going to keep getting better, and that's the start. You're never going to be at end goal. There's no end goal. There's no perfection ever. We're never going to achieve that. So erase that from your mind, but know that you can make a huge difference, and you can have the life that you want, and you can have a better sense of self, better relationship with yourself, and then others around you. And it just starts within. 2 more things that I'll talk about. Journaling. I'm not the best journaler. I'm very much more, as you can tell, a verbal processor. So sitting down and writing was a challenge to get in the habit of doing. But it is very therapeutic, especially if you are someone who is an overthinker and you have racing thoughts like me. Journaling, it's true. It really works. It worked for me. And I don't want you to think, like, don't put that pressure on yourself to have to do it every single day right out of the gate. That would be great. And if you can, do that, because that is, like, a really good goal. But if you can't commit to a daily journal, I get that. I've been there. Maybe do every other day. Maybe do once a week. Do a weekly roundup and write about your week. Whatever works for you. And also when you journal, you don't have to, like, do pages. Like, you can literally do a paragraph, and that could be your journal entry for the day. Like, do what works for you. Okay? Don't fall for what everybody else is doing. Like, I'm just giving you what I did and what helped me, and then take these bits and then figure out a routine that will work for you in whatever way it will work, in whatever duration, whatever, right? Customize it to your own needs. Okay. But journaling really helps release the chaos in your brain, because when you're writing, your brain naturally has to slow down and think about each word that you're saying and, like, write it out, and it just slows everything down, but then gets it all out of your brain onto paper. And there's so many times where I got triggered by, like, a conversation or something that happened, right? And I'm like, my thoughts are racing and I feel so chaotic and I feel so all over the place and so emotional. And I just was like, you know what? I need to get this out of my brain onto paper so I can just, like, process it. As soon as I write it out, it's like, okay, I feel a lot better. My brain isn't racing anymore. I'm not as emotionally attached, and my emotions aren't as amplified anymore because I had a second to process it and slow it down. And now I feel better. A lot of the times, like, if I got upset about something, I wasn't even really that upset about it anymore after I journaled. And I was like, damn, that could have saved me, like, so much drama in the past, right? Like, if I would have just journaled about it. But it's also a cool way to, like, document your life and see your growth and remember how life was going. And, like, it's only for you. Right? You're the only one who's going to ever read that or, maybe whatever. If somebody else reads my journals after I'm long and gone, enjoy. That shit's juicy. I hope you guys can make money off of it and donate it to charity. But your journals are for you. So you can be unfiltered. You don't have to worry about any response. It's just for you. And you can look back and see how crazy you were or how emotional you were about something and be like, yeah, that was valid. I needed that. And I needed to express those feelings. And now I feel better. And it's out there. You know what I mean? So journaling has been huge. For my ladies listening, or whoever has a period, our hormones change throughout the month. I don't have to tell you this, or maybe I do. And if I do, welcome to this new journey. I highly recommend learning more about it because your life will change so much if you start to sync yourself to your menstrual cycles. And because I didn't really realize, I had been on birth control since I was a teenager, on and off, and your hormones really impact how you live each day, depending at which stage of the cycle you're in. And once I started to understand each cycle, I really started to give myself a lot more grace. I'm still new in this journey, so I could be messing some things up. But your luteal phase is the phase right before your period, and your hormones are dipping really low, I believe. And so you're very emotional. Things trigger you very easily. And so once I started to realize oh, the week before my period, or the weeks leading up to my period, the week before and the week of my period, those are very emotionally driven days for me. So I need to be gentle with myself, and I need to remind myself that hey, this isn't that deep probably. It may be, but it may not be as deep as I'm feeling it right now. Journal about it, go get a good workout in, and then see how we feel about it. And just knowing those things about yourself changes so much. You just give yourself more grace, and you don't feel like it's you're the problem. You just learn to work with yourself more and be more accepting. And then there's days the follicular phase. I think that's the phase where you have so much more energy. And I've been learning how to do my podcasting during certain phases. During my luteal phase, that's editing, because I don't want to be talking to people. I don't want to be getting deep, because I'm either going to cry, I'm going to get emotional, or I just don't even have the energy to do it. But I do have the energy to sit in a cave in my dark basement room and edit, learning to work with yourself. It's the key to success and the key to happiness. Again, that could be a whole nother episode. So if any of these topics that I kind of breezed past and rambled about you or you want to hear more about, let me know, because I can definitely do deep dives on all of them. And I probably will, because that's currently what stage of life I'm in, and I can only speak from my experience. And all in all, learn yourself. I wish I could go back and tell little me that feeling you're feeling is anxiety and it's okay. And I wish I could go back and give my younger self, all the tools that I have now. But I'm super, super grateful to be where I'm at today, and to be able to sit and see all the growth that I've had over the years, even from the beginning of this podcast. There's so much growth that I've documented within. Maybe other people don't see it, but I see it. And I sit and reflect, and I just think yeah, I hope everyone has the opportunity to know themselves. And some people really don't have anxiety. Some people don't struggle with mental health to the extent that some people do. It's a spectrum, right? Everything's really a spectrum. And I don't know where I fall on that spectrum, but I know some people struggle harder than I do. I know some people have better tools and coping mechanisms that I do, and I'm trying to learn from that. But it's all a spectrum. We all fall somewhere on it. And I think the more you know about yourself and others, and just mental health in general, will make us as a society a much better, safer place. And so if you listened to this today, thank you. And I hope you are well. I wish you well. I think with this episode, I don't do this in every episode, but in the spirit of May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I did create a journal prompt for us all to take a little bit of time to reflect on your own journey that you're on, and just literally set your timer on your phone for 5 minutes. That's it. And just let yourself have some intentional time for yourself, and reflection time for yourself. 5 minutes can make such a huge difference. And if you like this, maybe I can add it into future ones. can't promise it'll be in everything, but the journal prompt that I will be journaling on this as well, and I encourage you to journal on it. Like, get your favorite cup of coffee, tea, your favorite drink, put on a good like light music in the background, some lo-fi. I love lo-fi. Or if you like R&B music, I really like this YouTube channel called Noise Complaint. They do like live DJing of different R&B music, and it's just such a vibe. So if that's your thing, or lo-fi girl, if you just want some like calming music, those are my recommendations on what to do to play during these journal times, or just be silent, whatever, to each your own. But get comfy cozy, grab your journal, and the journal prompt that I want to leave you with today is, what's something I've been carrying silently that deserves to be heard, understood, or released? I'll read it one more time. What's something I've been carrying silently that deserves to be heard, understood, or released? That's up to your interpretation. Nobody else is going to read this. This is just for you. So I highly encourage just like taking 5 minutes of time just to dedicate to yourself and loving yourself a little harder and deeper. I love you so much. Thank you guys for listening. This was such a nice episode. I really like recording outside. This was nice. Hopefully the sound isn't too crazy. In May, you can expect a lot more topics on mental health or around mental health. So yeah, I love you guys. I hope you're well. Bye.